Indiana has numbers here. Clark looks to take advantage. Clark launches and hits a three.
Caitlyn Clark made her move. Sophie Cunningham followed. And in that instant, the balance of power in the WNBA shifted forever. Finals night was supposed to be a celebration. But behind the lights and the cheers, the league was unraveling. Deals whispered in hallways, names once untouchable suddenly uncertain, and a commissioner's seat caught in the crossfire. What happens when the stars you thought were untouchable decide the game isn't theirs to follow, but to change? The season that hid the cracks. From the outside, the WNBA looked unstoppable. Attendance numbers climbed higher than ever before. TV ratings were breaking records and arenas buzzed with fans waving fresh jerseys. Everywhere you looked, it seemed like the league had reached a new peak. Social media feeds were filled with highlights, slam dunks, and smiling faces. Headlines called it a breakthrough season. On paper, everything seemed perfect, but perfection can be deceiving. Behind the bright lights, shadows were forming. The growth of the league was undeniable, but with it came pressures no one had fully prepared for. Players were traveling more than ever before, often spending hours on flights just to make back-to-back games. They carried not only the weight of competition, but also the expectations of a growing fan base, hungry for stars to shine every night. The arenas were larger, the crowds louder, but security measures hadn't kept up.
Buzzing with excitement Thursday as thousands of diehard fans gathered in the sold-out arena.
A growing number of athletes quietly admitted feeling unsafe at games. Some whispered concerns to friends or teammates, while others kept silent, hoping no one would notice. Amid all this, the league's office was celebrating. Owners and executives cheered the numbers, pointing to sponsorship deals and media coverage as proof that the WNBA was finally getting its moment in the spotlight. They saw progress, expansion, and opportunity. But the players were asking questions that didn't have easy answers. Why, if the league had grown so much, were their daily challenges still the same? Why were top athletes flying commercial when they were expected to perform at elite levels? Why did rookies still have to take overseas contracts just to make ends meet or to feel financially secure? The contrast between what fans saw and what players experienced was striking. Fans saw glamour, success, and celebration. Behind the scenes, athletes were juggling schedules that tested their endurance, often without the resources or support that the league celebrated publicly. The grind was relentless. Long hours of practice, travel stress, and constant media attention added up. Injuries, mental fatigue, and personal stress were quietly mounting, creating pressure points that could not remain hidden for long. The pressure wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. Younger players, eager to make their mark, often felt invisible compared to the league's stars. Some veterans were exhausted from managing expectations both on and off the court. Media interviews, autograph sessions, and community appearances where each task was a reminder that being part of this breakthrough season came at a cost. The league had grown, but the structure supporting the athletes had not kept pace. And then there was the money. While sponsorship deals, ticket sales, and television contracts showed growth, player compensation lagged far behind the profits their efforts generated. It was a reality the league had long struggled with. Stars were being asked to elevate the sport.
Quarter, an 8-3 rebounding advantage. Clark pulls, fires, hits, 4-3.
But the rewards didn't reflect the risk, commitment, or global attention they were attracting. In private conversations, some players admitted feeling frustrated, even resentful. The question was no longer just about loyalty or love for the game. It was about fairness, security, and recognition. Despite all this, the shine of the season was real. Fans chanted players' names, and highlight reels went viral. The excitement was tangible. Yet beneath that shine, cracks were widening. Small issues, once easily ignored, began to reveal themselves as deep structural problems. Travel exhaustion, safety concerns, pay disparities, and unaddressed grievances combined to form a pressure cooker environment. And the more the league succeeded publicly, the more impossible it became to hide what was happening behind the scenes. By mid-season, whispers turned into conversations. Quiet complaints evolved into urgent discussions. Players who had stayed silent now spoke up. Agents and team staff noticed an undercurrent of tension building in locker rooms and practice courts. The questions grew louder. Could the league maintain this momentum without addressing these cracks? How long could the WNBA sustain its breakthrough image if its stars were struggling quietly in plain sight?
Team WNBA has a 3-point lead. 4 assists, 5 points.
The season that looked flawless from the outside was, in reality, a tipping point. The WNBA had built a stage bigger than ever, but the foundation beneath it was shaky. The excitement and glamour were undeniable, but so was the stress, frustration, and exhaustion quietly carried by the athletes who made the show possible. That gap between appearance and reality, between growth and stability, was about to be tested and exposed in ways no one in the league could have anticipated. Why Sophie's choice changed everything. Sophie Cunningham wasn't the loudest voice in the WNBA. She didn't headline every magazine. She wasn't featured in every ad campaign or plastered across billboards. She wasn't the league's MVP, and on paper, she wasn't the player everyone expected to make headlines. But what she lacked in awards, she made up for in influence. Fans knew her name. They followed her social media, admired her hustle, and respected the way she carried herself on the court. Brands trusted her to represent them. Teammates relied on her energy, her guidance, and her ability to step up when it mattered most. Then the news came. Sophie Cunningham had signed with a Saudi-backed basketball league. At first, it didn't feel shocking.
Family goat modes, the official SUVs of the Connecticut Sun. Mitchell connects.
A few whispers, a quiet story, a move that seemed like any other overseas contract. But then the numbers leaked, and suddenly everything changed. The deal she signed wasn't a small bonus. It wasn't a temporary contract. It wasn't a number that would take years to accumulate. It was more than she had earned in her entire WNBA career combined. Not potential earnings, not perks, not performance-based bonuses. Guaranteed money, instantly life-changing, in hand. That's when the reality hit the league, the fans, and everyone who watched closely. If someone like Sophie, someone respected but not the biggest star, was willing to walk away during what should have been her prime, this wasn't a rumor anymore. It wasn't speculation, it was a signal, loud and clear. The rules had changed, and the balance of power was shifting. It wasn't about Sophie disliking the WNBA. It wasn't about drama or personal conflicts. It was about timing, opportunity, and security. A career in professional sports is short. Every season counts. Every injury, every contract, every decision can define a player's entire life outside the game. And Sophie made a choice that prioritized her future in a way that every athlete quietly dreams of, but rarely acts upon. When that news broke, it wasn't just about her move, it was about the message it sent. If Sophie could walk away, who else might follow? The entire structure of the league suddenly felt fragile. Fans who thought the WNBA was untouchable began to wonder how quickly stars could vanish. Teammates who had always believed in staying loyal started to question their own options. And the league itself? Leadership had to face the reality that money, opportunity, and timing now outweighed tradition and loyalty. Short careers, long futures. And in that moment, staying loyal didn't just feel risky, it felt expensive. Sophie Cunningham's choice became more than a contract. It became a turning point, a wake-up call.
Sophie smiling through it all.
Look at Bonner.
A reminder that even the most respected institutions can be reshaped by a single decision. One move, one signature, and everything the league believed was untouchable suddenly had cracks. Her decision wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a storm that would test every player, every team, and the very leadership of the WNBA. Sophie hadn't just signed a contract. She had rewritten the rules for everyone who followed. Caitlyn Clark and the point of no return. Caitlyn Clark didn't just play basketball, she changed how people watched it. College gyms that once echoed with only a few hundred fans were now overflowing. Tickets sold out in minutes. Television ratings surged, not just for hardcore fans, but for casual viewers who had never cared about women's basketball before. Her games became events, talked about in living rooms, offices, and on social media. Every dribble, every three-pointer, every clutch play seemed to captivate a new audience. When Caitlyn entered the WNBA, the excitement didn't fade, it multiplied. Her rookie season carried that same energy. Arenas are filled for her games. TV cameras followed her. Even rival teams couldn't ignore her impact. She was no longer just a promising college star. She had become the face of a growing movement in professional women's basketball.
She'll pull up, transition three, nailed it. 27 for Clark, 10 assists.
But there was a harsh reality. Her rookie paycheck didn't reflect her influence on the court. Less than $80,000 a year. Even after a few seasons, the league maximum wouldn't top $300,000. Fans saw her dominate. Media coverage celebrated her talent. Sponsors noticed. Yet the numbers on her contract barely kept pace with the shoes on her feet or the time spent traveling, practicing, and performing at the highest level. Then came the shock. A new offer arrived from an overseas league backed by Saudi investment. Reports suggested the deal could be worth tens of millions, some even said hundreds of millions over multiple years. Guaranteed money, no conditions, no performance-based bonuses, no waiting. Just immediate financial security, the kind that could support not only her career, but her entire life and future generations. This wasn't a decision about greed. It wasn't about disrespecting the league. It was about math, practicality, and foresight. Short careers are the reality of professional sports. One injury, one bad season, or one change in team dynamics could alter everything. For a star like Caitlyn,
with the three, Johannes answered, then Caitlyn again. She's calling for the ball from Cunningham.
this was more than a contract, it was a chance to secure her future in a way few athletes ever experience. The choice was clear in its impact. One path builds a legacy, a name remembered in arenas and history books. The other path builds generational wealth, a security so strong it can't be shaken by seasons, injuries, or league politics. And when a decision like that is on the table, it doesn't just affect one player. It sends ripples through the entire league. Teammates take notice. Opponents pay attention. Ownership and management are forced to reconsider strategies, salaries, and retention plans. Once Caitlyn's name entered the conversation, panic spread quietly but quickly. The league that had relied on loyalty and tradition suddenly faced the most powerful challenge it had seen in decades. Fans wondered if they would still get to watch their favorite player in the arena. Sponsors began asking questions. Behind the scenes, conversations became urgent. Meetings were called, calculations were redone. Every corner of the WNBA felt the weight of her decision before it was even made. Caitlyn Clark's situation marked a point of no return. This wasn't just another off-season move or a routine overseas contract. This was a turning moment that could redefine the league, its stars, and its future.
Fire blazing during last year's March Madness tournament. And there was a lot of talk about women athletes and being competitive and fierce and all.
The commissioner caught in the middle, Cathy Engelbert, didn't step into an easy job. From the moment she took the role, the challenges were clear and they weren't small. The WNBA was a league growing fast, but its foundation was delicate. It depended heavily on NBA support for financial stability, scheduling, and promotion. That meant every decision she made was under scrutiny, every strategy examined, and every outcome debated. She pushed for growth, fought for new deals, and made bold moves to bring more attention to the league. Under her leadership, television contracts were secured with bigger networks. Sponsors began investing more. The WNBA's profile was rising in ways it hadn't before. Yet leadership isn't just about numbers on a chart. It's about how you respond when the unexpected hits. And this season, the unexpected hit hard. Players began speaking up, quietly at first, about safety concerns during games and practices. Incidents that were once considered minor suddenly felt serious under the public eye. Engelbert made comments intended to calm the situation, to reassure players and fans alike. But the words often did the opposite. Instead of building trust, doubts grew. Players felt unheard, and the tension in locker rooms mounted. Then came Sophie Cunningham's departure. Suddenly, a league star had walked away during her prime. Questions that had lingered quietly now demanded answers. Media outlets reported on the shift. Fans debated loyalty and contracts online. Sponsors noticed the headlines. And just as the league was trying to stabilize, news about Caitlyn Clark's overseas talks emerged. Pressure exploded. Meetings that were scheduled for routine discussions became urgent. Advisors huddled. Staff scrambled. Every choice felt critical. Owners wanted explanations for why their investments might be at risk. Players demanded action to protect their futures. Fans expected transparency. Engelbert was pulled in every direction at once, trying to satisfy all sides while keeping the league afloat. But one problem couldn't be solved in meetings, memos, or press releases. The WNBA simply could not match the financial power backing these new overseas opportunities. When the league's biggest stars started considering other options, the weight of blame didn't fall on budgets or contracts, it landed squarely on the commissioner. Suddenly, the seat at the top that once represented achievement and leadership began to feel unstable. Decisions that once seemed calculated now felt precarious. Every move had consequences, and the consequences were public, immediate, and potentially irreversible. Engelbert's challenge wasn't just managing a league, it was managing trust, perception, and an entirely new reality. The landscape had shifted, and the expectations of players, owners, and fans had shifted with it. Leadership meant more than growth and contracts. It meant navigating the impossible and facing scrutiny no one else could bear. By the time the season reached its climax, it wasn't the scoreboard, the ratings, or the stats that defined her tenure. That moment, the commissioner's role became the clearest lens through which the crisis could be seen, and it was anything but easy. Why this isn't just a WNBA problem. Saudi investment in sports isn't a new story.
Arabia investing in golf, and that's left at that. I think people are pretty sophisticated. And the same way,
it has been reshaping global competitions quietly, methodically, and with enormous financial power. Golf felt it first. Live golf, backed by Saudi sovereign wealth, lured some of the biggest names from the PGA Tour, with contracts that seemed almost impossible to refuse. Top players, even those loyal to traditional leagues, walked away because the money wasn't just big, it was life-changing. Fans debated ethics, commentators questioned decisions, but the reality was undeniable. Guaranteed money had rewritten the rules. Soccer experienced the same shift. Clubs with deep pockets and aggressive investment strategies began signing players for salaries and perks that domestic leagues couldn't match. Stars were tempted by more than prestige. They were offered security, lifestyle, and opportunities to build wealth on a scale they had never imagined. Contracts didn't just pay them to play, they secured entire futures. The traditional systems of loyalty, long-term career planning, and league pride suddenly competed against billions of dollars ready to change the game. The WNBA is now facing that same reality, and it's a challenge unlike anything in its history. Unlike men's professional leagues, which have decades of financial infrastructure, media contracts, and global influence, the WNBA is still growing. It depends on revenue from tickets, sponsorships, and TV deals that, while increasing, still can't compete with international offers backed by effectively unlimited resources. The choice for players is clear. Accept the risk of staying loyal or secure a future that could support them for life. This isn't just about a few stars leaving. It's about a fundamental power shift. Once a handful of players start considering alternatives, momentum builds. Younger players watch. Agents calculate. Sponsors reconsider. Every signature overseas signals that the traditional league system is no longer the only option. The rules that once governed women's basketball loyalty, career milestones, domestic growth are colliding with a new world.
I think the biggest thing is just confidence. I think sometimes I feel like I'm closer to the basket than I really am, but also the adrenaline gets going, the crowd gets behind you.
Where opportunity moves at the speed of money. The commissioner's resignation illustrates this perfectly. It wasn't weakness, it wasn't a failure. It was the inevitable outcome of pressure that could no longer be managed within old frameworks. Leaders can plan, negotiate, and strategize, but when the financial landscape changes faster than the systems designed to hold it together, even the strongest leadership can feel powerless. This moment is bigger than one person, one team, or one league. It's a collision between tradition and a new global market, between the structures built over decades and the forces reshaping them overnight. The WNBA now sits at a crossroads. Every decision it makes, every strategy it implements, will define whether it can retain its stars, grow sustainably, and adapt, or whether it will watch talent leave one signature at a time, transforming the league into a stepping stone instead of a destination. And so far, the league hasn't fully decided how to respond. Boardrooms are full of questions, emails buzz with concerns, and fans wait anxiously. The game on the court is no longer the only battle. The real struggle is off the hardwood, where money, opportunity, and global influence are rewriting the future of women's basketball. This story isn't finished. Sophie made her choice. Caitlyn still holds hers. But the message is already clear. Women's basketball has outgrown the rules built for it. Fans want stars, players want security, leagues want control. Those goals don't align anymore. The commissioner stepping down wasn't the end of the crisis, it was the first visible crack. What happens next will decide whether the WNBA keeps its future or watches it fly overseas. Because once players realize their value, there's no going back to quiet acceptance. Stay connected. What comes next will change women's basketball forever.